The massive Veltar warships hung in space like dark metal mountains. Their hulls stretched for kilometers, covered in weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Zethka stood on the command bridge of the flagship, watching Earth through the viewport. The blue and green world looked so small and helpless. Another primitive species, Zethka muttered to his aide. This will be simple. The Veltar hegemony had done this 400 times before. They would arrive at a new world, show their power, and give the locals a choice. Most species chose to live as slaves rather than die as free beings. The smart ones surrendered quickly. Open a channel to the human government, Zethka ordered. Within minutes, a group of humans appeared on the communication screen. They wore simple dark suits and sat around a table. The one in the center had gray hair and calm eyes. His name tag read Secretary General Chen. Greetings, Zethka began, his voice cold and commanding. I am Admiral Zethka of the Veltar hegemony. Your species has been selected for integration into our empire. Chen leaned forward slightly. What does that mean? It means you have two choices. Zethka activated a hologram that showed the destruction of other worlds. Cities burning, ships exploding, millions dying. You can surrender now and accept our terms, or we will destroy every human in the galaxy. The humans at the table watched the images without speaking. Chen's face showed no emotion. What are your terms? Chen asked. Zethka smiled. He enjoyed this part. First, your government will dissolve. We will rule your worlds directly. Second, 60% of all resources will go to the hegemony. Third, 60% of your population will serve as workers in our factories and mines. And the remaining 40%? They will produce more workers for us. Your species will breed according to our schedules. Strong humans will make strong slaves. Chen nodded slowly. I see. What about our technology? Destroyed. Your weapons, your ships, your factories. We cannot allow slaves to have such things. You will use only what we give you. The other humans at the table looked at each other. Chen remained calm. You have done this before, Chen said. It was not a question. 23 times, Zethka confirmed proudly. Some species tried to fight. They all died. Some surrendered immediately. They still exist, serving the hegemony with honor. Honor? Chen repeated the word quietly. Yes, there is honor in knowing your place in the galaxy. The Veltar are strong. Other species are weak. This is natural law. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. How long do we have to decide? 72 standard hours. After that, our weapons will speak for themselves. We need to discuss this with our colonies. Zethka laughed. Of course. 47 worlds full of humans. I understand this is difficult, but the choice is simple. Live as servants or die as fools. We understand, Chen said. We will contact you with our answer in 72 hours. The communication ended. Zethka turned to his aide, a younger Veltar with bright red scales. Admiral, should we prepare for battle? Some species try to run or hide. No need, Zethka said. I have done this many times. I can see it in their eyes. They are afraid. They will choose to live. What if they try to evacuate their worlds? Where would they go? We control 400 systems. Our ships are faster than theirs. Even if some humans escape, we will find them eventually. Zethka walked to his private chamber behind the bridge. The walls were covered with trophies from conquered worlds, crystals from the Nethys homeworld, metal art from the Corvan Empire, genetic samples from dozens of extinct species who chose death over slavery. He opened a bottle of Veltar wine and poured himself a glass. In 3 days, he would add human artifacts to his collection. Their art, their music, their literature, all evidence of their independence would become his property. Computer, show me the human files, he said. A hologram appeared, showing everything the Veltar had learned about humanity. They were young as galactic species went. Only recently had they left their home system and spread to other worlds. Their technology was impressive for such a new species, but still decades behind Veltar science. Estimated military strength? Zethka asked. 200 combat ships. Various sizes. No match for a single Veltar dreadnought. Population centers? 47 worlds. Total population approximately 12 billion. Largest concentration on the homeworld called Earth. Industrial capacity? Significant. They build ships, weapons, and civilian goods on multiple worlds. All facilities can be converted for hegemony use within 1 standard year. Zethka nodded. The humans would make excellent slaves. They were smart enough to operate complex machinery but not strong enough to rebel. Perfect. He thought about Secretary General Chen. The human had shown no fear, but that meant nothing. Many leaders stayed calm during first contact. They always broke when they understood the true power of the hegemony. Computer, prepare the standard surrender document. Include clauses for population management and resource allocation. Document prepared, Admiral. Zethka finished his wine and smiled. Another successful conquest was beginning. Soon the Veltar flag would fly over human cities. Soon human children would learn to speak Veltar as their first language. Soon this entire region of space would belong to the hegemony. He had no way of knowing that at this very moment across 47 human worlds, emergency meetings were beginning. He did not know about the classified documents being burned. He did not know about the evacuation ships being loaded in secret. Most importantly, he did not know about the Lazarus Protocol. In 72 hours, Admiral Zethka would learn that some species would rather burn the galaxy than bow to an empire. He would discover that humans were very different from the other 23 races he had conquered. He would learn that some beings choose neither slavery nor simple death. Sometimes they choose something far more terrible. The emergency session on Mars began at midnight local time. Governor Sarah Martinez sat at the head of a conference table surrounded by representatives from every major colony. Holographic displays showed similar meetings happening across human space. 47 worlds, all connected, all facing the same terrible choice. The Veltar terms are exactly what our intelligence predicted, Martinez began. Total surrender. 60% of everything we have built. 60% of our people. Dr. James Okafor from Europa Station leaned forward. The breeding programs are the worst part. They will treat our children like livestock. What about resistance? Asked Colonel Park from the Kepler 442b military command. We have ships, we have weapons. Martinez shook her head. Our best estimates give us a 5% chance of victory in open battle. The Veltar have conquered 23 other species. All of them had weapons too. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the numbers. Human military technology was good, but not good enough. The Veltar had been building warships for 1,000 years. There is another option, Martinez said quietly. The Lazarus Protocol. Every face around the table grew serious. They all knew about Lazarus, but no one had ever wanted to discuss it. It was humanity's final insurance policy, developed in secret over the last 50 years. Explain it to those who don't know, Dr. Okafor said. Martinez activated a secure hologram. Lazarus is based on a simple idea. If we cannot win, we make sure our enemies cannot win either. Every human world has hidden charges placed in critical locations. Antimatter bombs, singularity generators, plasma cores. If activated, they will destroy everything we have built. Complete destruction? Colonel Park asked. Complete. No cities, no factories, no resources. Nothing for the Veltar to use. We deny them the prize they came to take. What about evacuation? Asked Dr. Sarah Kim from the Luna Research Station. Limited. We have 47 seed ships hidden in various locations. Each ship can carry approximately 10,000 people, plus genetic samples, cultural archives, and basic industrial equipment. Total evacuation capacity is less than 5% of our population. The mathematics were horrible but simple. 12 billion humans lived across 47 worlds. The seed ships could save maybe 500,000 people. Everyone else would die with their worlds. Who decides who goes on the ships? Dr. Okafor asked. Volunteers only. No forced selections. Every person chooses for themselves. Governor Martinez pulled up another display. We have identified suitable locations for the seed colonies. Empty star systems far from any known space lanes. The evacuees would have everything needed to rebuild human civilization, but it would take centuries. Centuries hiding in the dark, Colonel Park said. Yes, but hiding as free humans, not living as Veltar slaves. The debate continued for hours. They discussed every alternative, every possible strategy. Fighting and losing, surrendering and hoping for mercy, running away and hoping not to be caught. None of the options were good. I have a question, Dr. Kim said. What happens to the Veltar after we activate Lazarus? Nothing good, Martinez replied. According to our psychological profiles, the Veltar expect either surrender or a normal war. They want to conquer us, not destroy us. If we destroy ourselves instead, it will confuse and anger them. More than that, added Dr. Okafor, it will terrify them. Every other species in their empire will hear about what humans did. Some of them might get ideas. Colonel Park nodded slowly. We cannot win this war. But we can make sure they lose too. Martinez called for a preliminary vote. All in favor of activating the Lazarus Protocol? Every hand went up. The same scene played out across human space. On Earth, President Williams addressed a joint session of government leaders. On Europa, families gathered in community centers to discuss the choice. On Titan, workers in the methane processing plants held emergency meetings. The conversations were similar everywhere. Parents asked about their children. Children asked about their pets. Everyone asked about the seed ships. The answers were always the same. Volunteers only. No forced evacuation. Everyone decides for themselves. On New Geneva, a teacher named Maria Santos stood before her class of 8-year-old children. How do you explain genocide to children? How do you ask them to choose between slavery and death? Mrs. Santos asked a boy named Tommy, "What is slavery?" It means someone else owns you. You cannot choose where to live or what to do. You must obey them in everything. Like pets? Maria thought about the comparison. Yes, Tommy, exactly like pets. I don't want to be a pet, said a girl named Lisa. Neither do I, Maria replied. Across human space, similar conversations happened in millions of homes. Families recorded goodbye messages for relatives on other worlds. Scientists uploaded their research to the seed ship databases. Artists painted final masterpieces that would survive in the colony archives. The voting was conducted by secure quantum communication. Every adult human could participate. The results came in slowly as different time zones completed their ballots. Earth voted first. 97% chose Lazarus. Mars voted next. 99% chose Lazarus. Europa, Titan, Ceres, New Geneva, Kepler, Borte, Kurtu, B, Wolf, Trice, Pseptenaun, Gliese 677. World after world, colony after colony. The results were the same. When the final count finished, the numbers were clear. Across 47 worlds, 11.8 billion humans had voted. 11.7 billion chose the Lazarus Protocol. Less than 1% chose surrender. Most of those changed their minds after hearing the final count. Secretary General Chen appeared on screens across human space to announce the results. His face was calm, but his eyes were sad. People of humanity, he began, we have made our choice. In 60 hours, we will activate the Lazarus Protocol. Every world, every station, every ship will be destroyed rather than handed over to alien masters. He paused, looking directly into the camera. This is not a decision made in anger or fear. This is a decision made in love. Love for our children, love for our freedom, love for everything that makes us human. We will not allow that to be taken from us. Evacuation ships are now departing for hidden locations. Anyone who wishes to volunteer for the colony mission should report to designated areas immediately. Remember, this is voluntary. No one will be forced to leave and no one will be forced to stay. To those who go, carry our memory with you. Build new worlds that remember what we were. To those who remain, we go into darkness together, but we go as free humans. Chen's final words would be remembered for centuries. In 60 hours, the Veltar will learn that some things cannot be conquered. Some spirits cannot be broken, and some species will choose fire over chains. The evacuation began immediately. Seed ships lifted off from hidden locations across human space, carrying their precious cargo toward the deep void between stars. Most of humanity stayed behind, preparing for the end. They had 60 hours to say goodbye to the greatest civilization their species had ever built. 60 hours to prepare for the most terrible act of defiance in galactic history. The Veltar had no idea what was coming. Admiral Zethka stood on his command bridge checking the time display. 71 hours and 58 minutes had passed since the ultimatum. In 2 minutes, the humans would give their answer. Admiral, his aide reported, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. Put it on screen. Secretary General Chen appeared looking exactly as he had 3 days ago. Calm, composed, unafraid. Behind him sat the same group of human officials. Admiral Zethka, Chen said politely, thank you for your patience. We have discussed your offer with all our colonies. And? Zethka leaned forward. He enjoyed this moment, the moment when another species accepted their place in the galaxy. We respectfully decline. Zethka blinked. Excuse me? We decline your offer. We choose not to surrender. The Veltar admiral felt a moment of confusion. This was not how these conversations usually went. Human, I think you misunderstand. Your choice is slavery or death. There is no third option. Chen smiled for the first time in their conversations. Actually, Admiral, there is. The transmission ended. For a moment, Zethka stared at the blank screen. Then he turned to his weapons officer. Target their orbital defense platforms. Prepare to bombard the human homeworld. Yes, Admiral. Charging plasma cannons. That was when the first explosion happened. A massive burst of light erupted from Earth's moon. The entire satellite split apart in a ball of antimatter fire. Chunks of rock and metal flew in all directions, some striking Earth's atmosphere in brilliant streaks. What was that? Zethka demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Some kind of massive explosion on the lunar surface. Before anyone could respond, more explosions began. Mars turned into a miniature sun as hidden charges detonated across its surface. The dome cities, the underground mines, the terraforming stations, everything vanished in nuclear fire. Sir, we're detecting similar explosions across the human system. Jupiter's moons, the asteroid mining stations, all the orbital habitats. Zethka watched in horror as humanity systematically destroyed itself. This was not retreat. This was not surrender. This was something he had never seen before. Are they insane? His aide whispered. The answer came from Earth itself. Every major city began to explode simultaneously. Not from Veltar weapons, but from charges the humans had placed themselves. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Sao Paulo. All turned into craters of molten glass. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from other human worlds. Zethka nodded numbly. The communication screen filled with images from across human space. Kepler 442b's oceans boiling away as thermal charges turned the entire planet into steam. Europa Station crashing into Jupiter in a ball of fire. Titan's methane atmosphere igniting in a chain reaction that lasted for hours. World after world, colony after colony, humanity was committing collective suicide rather than accept Veltar rule. Stop them, Zethka shouted. Send boarding parties. Save what we can! Admiral, there's nothing to save. They're destroying the infrastructure, the factories, even the breathable atmospheres. Look at this. The screen showed New Geneva, one of humanity's most beautiful worlds. Humans were releasing toxins into the air and water. They were melting down their cities with plasma torches. They were making their own planet uninhabitable. Why? Zethka asked. Why would they do this? His answer came from Earth. A transmission began broadcasting across all frequencies. The signal was coming from multiple locations, making it impossible to stop. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a human scientist, stood in what looked like a burning laboratory. Her clothes were singed and there was blood on her face, but her voice was steady. To anyone watching this transmission, she began, "My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez. I am a human being and I am free." Behind her, explosions lit up the sky through broken windows. The Veltar came to our worlds 3 days ago. They offered us a choice, slavery or death. We have chosen a third option. We choose to deny them the victory they came to claim. The image switched to other locations. A teacher in a collapsing school on Mars. A miner in the tunnels beneath Ceres as the asteroid split apart. A ship captain as his vessel flew into a star. All of them saying the same thing. We are destroying everything we have built rather than let it serve an empire. Our cities, our art, our technology, our worlds themselves. All of it burns before we let it be taken from us. The transmission switched to a family on Luna Colony. Parents and children holding hands as the dome city's life support began to fail. We do this not in hatred but in love, the father said. Love for our children who will never grow up as slaves. Love for our freedom which cannot be conquered. Love for the idea that some things are worth more than life itself. An 8-year-old girl stepped forward. She looked directly into the camera with bright, fearless eyes. My name is Anna Chen. I am 8 years old. I will never be a slave, she began to sing. An old Earth song about freedom. Her voice was clear and sweet and completely unafraid. Other voices joined in from other locations. Across 47 dying worlds, millions of humans sang the same song as their civilization burned around them. Zethka felt something he had never experienced before. Horror. True. Complete horror, Admiral, his aide whispered. What do we do? Zethka had no answer. In 30 years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Species that fought and lost. Species that surrendered and lived. but never a species that chose to die rather than serve. The human transmission continued. More faces, more voices, all saying goodbye to their universe. "To the Veltar," said an elderly human woman as fires consumed the city behind her. "You came here expecting to find slaves. Instead, you found something that will haunt your dreams. You found a species that cannot be conquered because we refuse to be conquered." "To any other species watching this," added a young man from a space station as it fell into its star, "remember what you see here. Remember that when the choice is slavery or death, there is always a third option. You can choose to make your enemies pay a price they never expected." "To our children who escaped," said another voice, "remember us. Remember that we loved you enough to die for you. Build new worlds. Be free." The final transmission came from Earth itself. Secretary General Chen stood in what had once been the United Nations building. The structure was collapsing around him, but he remained calm. "To the galaxy," he said, "we are humanity. We lived free and we die free. No empire will ever claim what was ours because we leave nothing behind but ash and memory. And to the Veltar specifically, you wanted to conquer us. Instead, you have created something far more dangerous. You have created a legend. Every slave in your empire will hear this story. Every conquered species will remember what humans chose to do. You thought you were adding to your empire. Instead, you have planted the seeds of its destruction." Chen looked directly into the camera one last time. "We are humanity. We bow to no one." The transmission ended as Earth's crust cracked and the planet began to die. Zethka stood in silence, staring at the screen. Around him, his crew watched 47 human worlds turn into graveyards. 12 billion people choosing death over slavery. "Admiral," his aide asked quietly, "what do we report to the hegemony?" Zethka thought about the question. "How do you report a victory that feels like defeat? How do you explain conquering nothing but ash and corpses?" "Report that we have encountered a species unlike any other," he said finally. "Report that they are all dead, and we have gained nothing. Should we colonize the worlds ourselves?" Zethka looked at the poisoned planets, the shattered moons, the burning atmospheres. It would take centuries to make any of these worlds habitable again. "No," he said. "Mark this entire region as forbidden space. Let no one come here, Onsuwai, Admiral." Zethka watched the last human city disappear in nuclear fire. "Because some ghosts are too dangerous to disturb." The recordings spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. At first, the Veltar hegemony tried to contain them. They blocked transmissions, destroyed communication arrays, and executed anyone caught sharing the human broadcasts. But the recordings had already escaped into the galactic network. Every species that had ever felt the weight of Veltar chains saw the same images. Humans choosing to die rather than serve. Children singing songs of freedom as their worlds burned. Families holding hands as civilization collapsed around them. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. On Nethys Prime, the conquered homeworld of a crystalline species, workers in the processing plants began to slow down their production quotas. When Veltar overseers demanded faster work, the Nethys workers would play audio of 8-year-old Anna Chen singing her freedom song. "We cannot speed up," they would say. "We are remembering what humans taught us." On Corvin Station, an orbital factory that built Veltar warships, entire shifts of workers began taking longer breaks. They would gather in groups and quietly repeat the words of Secretary General Chen, "We bow to no one." The Veltar commanders responded with the usual punishments: beatings, executions, starvation. But something had changed. The conquered species no longer seemed afraid. "It is just propaganda," Governor Thexan told his security chief on Drakmore Colony. "The slaves will forget about the humans within a few months." But the slaves did not forget. Within 6 months, productivity across the hegemony had dropped by 20%. Sabotage incidents increased by 400%. Ships suffered mysterious malfunctions. Factories experienced unexplained explosions. Computer systems developed impossible errors. More importantly, surrender rates for new conquests fell to 0. When the Veltar attacked the Zephyrian Republic, they expected the usual pattern. Show overwhelming force, offer terms, accept surrender. Instead, the Zephyrians transmitted a message that echoed across the galaxy. "We have seen what humans chose. We choose the same. We respectfully decline your offer." The Zephyrians fought to the last being. When defeat became inevitable, they destroyed their own worlds rather than let them fall into Veltar hands. 3 billion dead, but 0 slaves. The pattern repeated with the Altarian Confederacy, the Rigel Collective, the Spiral Arm Alliance. Every new species the Veltar encountered had seen the human recordings. Everyone chose destruction over submission. What have we become? Admiral Zethka asked during an emergency council meeting on the hegemony capital world. We are conquerors who conquer nothing but corpses. High Commander Velthos, supreme leader of the hegemony, slammed his fist on the conference table. The humans have infected the galaxy with madness. Entire species are choosing death over the honor of serving us. Perhaps, suggested General Ketmar carefully, we should consider changing our approach. Offer better terms. Allow more autonomy. Velthos turned his cold reptilian eyes toward the general. Are you suggesting we negotiate with slaves? I am suggesting, High Commander, that we adapt to reality. The human broadcast has made traditional conquest impossible. Every species now knows there is an alternative to surrender. Then we will make that alternative impossible. Double the size of our fleets. Improve our weapons. When we attack, we will move so quickly that no species has time to destroy itself. But even this approach failed. The Cantorian Empire managed to trigger their planet killers even as Veltar ships dropped out of hyperspace. The last transmission from Cantoria was a child's voice repeating Anna Chen's song. Within 3 years of the human sacrifice, the Veltar hegemony stopped expanding entirely. They could still destroy civilizations, but they could no longer conquer them. Every species chose the human option. The psychological impact on Veltar society was devastating. For 1,000 years they had seen themselves as the natural rulers of the galaxy. Strong beings commanding weak ones. The natural order of things. Now that order was shattered. The weak refused to be commanded. The strong found themselves ruling empty space and dead worlds. We have become executioners instead of emperors. Admiral Zethka wrote in his private journal. We can kill anyone, but we can rule no one. The humans have taken our future and replaced it with ash. The existing slave species within the hegemony began to change as well. At first it was subtle. Work slowdowns disguised as equipment failures, accidents that damaged important facilities, supplies that mysteriously disappeared. But gradually the resistance became more open. On Corvin Station, workers began wearing small pieces of blue cloth, the color of Earth's sky. Veltar guards would confiscate the cloth, but more would appear the next day. The Nethys developed a coded language based on human musical notes. They would hum Anna Chen's freedom song while they worked, passing messages through the melody. The Veltar could not stop them without banning all sound, which was impossible in an industrial facility. Most dangerous of all, the slave species began to coordinate. The human recordings had shown them something they had never imagined, that resistance was possible. That dignity was worth more than life. That freedom was worth any price. The first major uprising began on Drakmor Colony, 5 years after the human sacrifice. The Saurian workers, who had been slaves for 3 centuries, suddenly stopped working entirely. All of them simultaneously across the entire planet. We demand freedom, their spokesman declared, or we demand death. We will accept nothing else. Governor Thexon ordered the usual punishment raids, but when Veltar soldiers entered the slave quarters, they found them empty. The Saurians had gathered in the planet's main industrial center and activated the fusion reactor's self-destruct sequence. You have 10 minutes to evacuate, the Saurian spokesman broadcast. We have chosen the human option. We will not be slaves anymore. Thexon barely escaped before Drakmor Colony turned into a miniature star. The rebellion spread. Corvin Station, Nethys Prime, the mining worlds of the outer spiral. Species that had been slaves for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom meant. The Veltar military, designed for conquest, was not equipped for internal security. They could destroy rebel worlds, but that only created more rebels. Every public execution was answered by 10 sabotage attacks. Every punitive raid resulted in another suicide bombing. We are losing the Empire, General Ketmar reported to High Commander Velthos. The slave worlds are in open revolt. Our conquest fleets have nothing to conquer. Our industrial capacity is falling as more worlds choose destruction over service. What do you recommend? Velthos asked. Negotiate. Offer genuine autonomy to the remaining slave worlds. Accept that we cannot rule through fear anymore. Never. Velthos stood and walked to the window overlooking the capital city. The Veltar do not negotiate with inferiors. Then the Veltar will rule over an empire of ghosts and ruins. High Commander Velthos considered this. In his 1,000-year lifespan, he had seen the hegemony grow from a single world to 400 systems. Now he was watching it collapse, all because of one species that chose death over slavery. The humans, he said quietly. They are all dead? Yes, High Commander. Every last one. Their worlds are still uninhabitable ruins. Good. Velthos turned back to the general. At least they paid for their defiance. But even as he spoke, long-range sensors were detecting something in the dark space between stars. Massive ships built with advanced technology heading toward the core worlds of the galaxy. The humans had kept one final secret. Not all of them had died with their worlds. Some had survived to remember. Some had survived to rebuild, and some had survived to return. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not their willingness to die for freedom. It was their refusal to let freedom die with them. The first sign appeared on long-range sensors near the Rigel Nebula. Massive ships, unlike any design in Veltar databases, moving through space with impossible speed and stealth. The sensor operator on Monitor Station 7 thought it was equipment malfunction. Sir, I'm reading 47 large vessels approaching from the void between sectors. But that's impossible. There's nothing out there. Commander Drixval examined the readings. The ships were huge, easily Dreadnought class, but their energy signatures were completely unknown. Origin? Unknown, sir. They're coming from empty space. No inhabited systems in that direction for 50 light years. Veltar ships? No, sir, the design is completely foreign. And, sir, the readings show they're using technology more advanced than ours. Drixval felt cold fear creep up his spine. In 50 years of service, he had never encountered technology superior to Veltar science. Send an identification request. The response came immediately. Broadcast on all frequencies. This is Admiral Sarah Chen, commanding the Human Liberation Fleet. We have returned. The words sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Humans were extinct. Everyone knew this. Admiral Zethka had watched their worlds burn 50 years ago. No species could survive complete planetary destruction, but the ships kept coming. High Commander Velthos stood in the hegemony's main command center, staring at the tactical display. 47 human ships approached the core worlds, moving through Veltar space like they owned it. His best fleets were rushing to intercept, but the human vessels were impossibly fast. How is this possible? He demanded. The humans destroyed themselves. We have footage of their worlds burning. Perhaps, suggested Admiral Zethka, now old and scarred from decades of suppressing rebellions. Not all of them stayed to die. The truth was both simple and terrifying. The human seed ships, launched just before the Lazarus Protocol, had carried 500,000 survivors to hidden colonies in the deep void. For 50 years, they had built and grown and prepared, using the most advanced human technology and knowledge from their dead civilization. But they had done more than just survive. They had learned. Attention, Veltar hegemony, came the broadcast from the approaching fleet. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice was calm and professional, but underneath lay something harder than diamond. You have something that belongs to us. We demand the immediate release of all slave populations within your territory. You have 24 hours to begin evacuation of your military forces from occupied worlds. High Commander Velthos activated the communication array. Human, you are in violation of hegemony space. Your species was destroyed 50 years ago. You have no claim to anything in this galaxy. Chen's image appeared on the command center's main screen. She was middle-aged with gray hair and steady eyes that reminded everyone of Secretary General Chen from the old recordings. Behind her stood officers from dozens of species, former slaves who had somehow escaped the hegemony. High Commander, she said politely, you seem to misunderstand our position. We are not making demands. We are informing you of what will happen. You command 47 ships against an empire of 400 worlds. Do you think we fear you? Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. High Commander, 50 years ago you learned what happens when humans choose death over slavery. Today you will learn what happens when humans choose vengeance over peace. The human fleet suddenly divided, moving with precision that defied physics. Individual ships began appearing throughout Veltar space simultaneously, as if they could teleport across vast distances. Impossible, whispered General Ketmar. No ship can move that fast. But the humans had spent 50 years in the dark between stars, where the normal rules of space and time worked differently. They had learned to use quantum tunnels, dimensional shortcuts, and technologies that the Veltar could not even understand. Velthos, Admiral Chen continued, your empire is collapsing anyway. The slave worlds are in constant rebellion. Your conquest fleets have nothing to conquer. You are already dead. You just haven't stopped breathing yet. We offer you the same choice you once offered us. Surrender and accept exile to your homeworld, or we will do to your civilization what you forced us to do to ours. You cannot threaten the hegemony. Velthos roared. We are the strongest military force in the galaxy. Were, Chen corrected. Past tense. The demonstration began immediately. A human ship appeared near Veltar Fleet Base Omega, one of their most heavily defended installations. The base opened fire with every weapon they had. Planet-killing lasers, antimatter torpedoes, gravitational cannons. None of them touched the human ship. Instead, the vessel simply moved, not fast, not evasively, but somehow always exactly where the weapons were not, as if it existed slightly outside normal space. Then it fired back. A single beam of energy struck the massive space station. The entire structure, built to withstand planetary bombardment, simply dissolved, not exploded, not destroyed. It ceased to exist as if it had never been built. New Veltar technology? Admiral Zethka asked weakly. No, replied General Ketmar, reading the sensor data. This is something beyond our science. The humans have evolved. Across the galaxy, similar demonstrations occurred. Human ships appeared at major Veltar installations, proved their weapons were useless, then eliminated the targets with impossible precision. But they did not attack the slave worlds. Instead, massive human transport ships began evacuating the populations. We're not conquering you, Admiral Chen explained in another broadcast. We're saving everyone you enslaved and leaving you with nothing. The evacuation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans worked with escaped slaves from every species, using advanced technology to transport entire populations to safe worlds. The Saurians, the Nethys, the Corvins, the Altarians, everyone who had suffered under Veltar rule. Where are you taking them? Demanded High Commander Velthos during one of the increasingly desperate negotiations. To worlds you cannot reach, Chen replied. To freedom you cannot touch. To a future where your empire is just a bad memory. The process took 3 months. 3 months of watching human ships appear anywhere they wanted, take whatever they wanted, and disappear before Veltar forces could respond. 3 months of seeing the Empire's slave labor force simply vanish. When it was finished, the Veltar hegemony controlled empty factories, abandoned mines, and dead cities across 400 worlds. Their economy collapsed overnight. Their military had nothing to protect and no one to fight. This is your choice, Admiral Chen broadcast one final time. Exile to your homeworld or extinction. The same choice you gave 24 species, including mine. We gave you slavery as an option, Velthos protested, and we're giving you life as an option. Consider it a gift from the dead. In the end, the Veltar chose exile. Their mighty fleets retreated to their original system, leaving behind the greatest empire in galactic history. They were not destroyed. They were simply abandoned. Years later, historians would debate whether the humans showed mercy or delivered the perfect revenge. The Veltar survived, but as prisoners on their own world, watching the galaxy thrive without them. The former slave species, now free, established a new galactic confederation. They called it the Free Worlds Alliance, and they placed a simple monument at its capital. The monument was a recording of 8-year-old Anna Chen singing her freedom song in the ruins of Luna Colony. Below it, an inscription in every galactic language, in memory of those who chose fire over chains, in honor of those who chose hope over hatred, in celebration of the truth that some things can never be conquered. Admiral Sarah Chen, now elderly, stood before the monument during its dedication ceremony. Around her gathered representatives from 100 species, all of them free because 12 billion humans had chosen death over slavery. They thought they were conquering a species, she said to the assembled crowd. Instead, they created a legend that outlived their empire. She paused, looking up at the image of the little girl who had sung in the face of extinction. My great-great-grandmother died on Earth 50 years ago. She never knew that her choice would free the galaxy. She only knew that some things are worth more than life. Today we remember that choice. Today we honor that sacrifice, and today we promise that freedom, once earned, will never be surrendered again. The ceremony ended with silence, a moment to remember the 12 billion humans who had chosen to burn rather than bow. Then, across the galaxy, voices rose in song. Anna Chen's freedom song, carried by 1 trillion beings who had learned its lesson. Some spirits cannot be broken. Some choices echo forever. And sometimes the greatest victory comes not from conquest but from refusing to be conquered. The Veltar Empire was dead. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy was finally free. In the dark between stars, new worlds grew and thrived, carrying the seeds of a civilization that had preferred extinction to slavery. They built monuments not to their weapons or their ships, but to a simple truth. Freedom is worth any price, even death, even everything. The universe itself had learned to remember the humans who chose fire over chains.